So I hear you're thinking about pausing your lock journey and you don't know if you should do the big chop or have them combed out. Well, let's talk about hair growth phases as it relates to retention of length when making the decision whether to comb out your locks or do the big chop. And then at the end, I'll tell you what I would do if I were trying to make this decision for myself. By the way, my name is Gigi Monet, better known as Gigi the Juice, aka Juice the Lock Doc. And I'm a 25-year master loctician and lady barber who has thrived for years, fully booked, months in advance, after blending science and mathematics with the artistry of cultivating locks. If you are ready to make your chair the only place they want to be, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. First, there's the anagen phase, which is the active growth period of your hair. This phase can last anywhere from 2 to 8 years, depending on your genetics and individual health, right? During this time, your hair is continuously growing from the follicles. The longer your hair stays in this phase, the longer it grows. On average, a person can expect to grow about 6 inches of hair per year, give or take. So let's get back to phase 1, where your hair is growing, the anagen phase. This is where all the length you're retaining, that's where all this is coming from. But if we take an average, most people's hair spends about 3 to 5 years in this phase before transitioning into the next stages, right? And falling out. So now let's connect that to locks and hair retention. When you have locks, you're actually holding on to shedded hair that has naturally come out of the hair follicle, which gets trapped in the lock itself, hence locked, right? If you've been growing your locks for 5 or more years and you're thinking about combing them out, it's important for you to understand that the majority of the hair within the lock has already shed from the scalp. It's not actively growing anymore. So what you're looking to salvage is the hair that's still attached to your scalp and currently in the anagen phase, in phase 1, in the growth phase. Therefore, if you've been locked for more than 5 years, it's unlikely you're going to be able to salvage much more than 2 to 3 years worth of growth. Most of the hair from the earlier phases has already been shed and now resides within the body of the lock. And this is why when combing out your locks, it's realistic to expect that much of the older hair will break or be lost. And the length that you're actually retaining or looking to retain will mostly come from the more recent years of growth. Now let's break down the time and cost investment. So combing out locks is a long, labor-intensive process. While some people are lucky and it may only take one full 8-hour day, more often than not, it will take 2 or even 3 days, depending on how tightly your hair has locked and how many locks you have. The time needed also depends heavily on your hair texture, right? So looser textures may detangle a bit faster, while curlier or kinkier textures tend to lock tighter and are more compact, making the process a little bit more time consuming. So let's do a cost breakdown using an average price of $50 to $60 per hour. So if we're looking at an 8-hour job, that's $400 to $480. 12 hours is $600 to $720. 24 hours is going to range between $1,200 and $1,400. 36 hours is $1,800 to $2,100. As you can see, the price quickly adds up, especially if your locks are tightly coiled and require multiple sessions. Alternatively, the big chop is much quicker, right? And most stylists will only need about 1 hour to complete it. So your total cost will probably be between $50 to $60, right? While this option is far more affordable, it does mean sacrificing length retention. So choosing between combing out your locks or doing the big chop really depends on your goals and your hair's condition. If maintaining your length is important, be prepared for a more significant investment in both time and money. But if you're ready for a fresh start, the big chop is much faster, a lot simpler, and more cost effective. Now, let me tell you what I would do if I were trying to make this decision for myself and I really wanted to retain some sort of length. So with all that information, doing the math, let's do it together. I know that because of the hair growth phases, I really only have about 2 to 3 years of viable actual length. That means since we grow about 6 inches a year, I have on a low end, I have 6 inches of hair. I would want more than that. On a high end, I could have 18 inches of hair. I would be okay with somewhere in between. So what I would do is I would take an entire year to not retwist my hair so that I got 6 fresh inches from the root. 6 fresh inches that are not locked at all. And I would keep them hydrated, or I would keep all my hair hydrated, but keep it hydrated. And I would probably wear my hair in ponytails, but I would brush through that loose hair once it gets to that point. You could do this for a year. You could do it for 2 years, but for sure I would do it for a minimum of a year. So I would know that I'd have 6 inches of totally loose hair. Then the 6 inches prior to that would be much easier to comb out, because now I am super duper conditioning my hair and I'm oiling it so that what's on my scalp doesn't lock, and the 6 inches prior doesn't get any more locked. And then I would assume that last 6 inches to get me to 18 inches will probably be the majority of the detangling that would need to be done. But since it's only the 2nd or 3rd year of growth, it shouldn't be that bad, but I would still expect it to take probably for me an entire day. And if I just didn't want to deal with that, I would just cut that. I would cut my locks off where it is the softest and easiest for me to just comb out. That way I have at least 12 inches of good viable hair. And if I'm lucky, I'll have 18. So that's what I would do. If we're talking finances, right, and you don't want to go to a salon, you could always find a friend. A friend ain't going to be happy to be doing this for days and days and days on end, for hours without getting paid. But you probably could find someone who would accept getting paid $20 to $25 an hour, or for free if they're your bestie and they really want to do that and they just want to do it for a pizza party or whatever. And you could do it that way. So you do have options, but keep all of that in mind for the people who are like, man, I've been growing my locks for 10 years and it's down to their butt. You're not going to retain that length anyway. The hair is not attached to the scalp. It's pointless. You're going to lose more than half. You will only be able to retain between 6 and 18 inches of hair, right? And even if you're somebody whose hair does last longer in the growth phase, right, and it's 5 full years, what you're going to end up with is a lot of unhealthy thin hair anyway, so it may be pointless to worry about all of that length. I hope that helps anyone who's thinking about doing the big chop or combing their locks out. And for all you locticians or stylists out there, I hope that information helped you so that you can help someone make that decision, as well as you don't put yourself in a position where you have someone with 8 to 10 years of growth that is down to their butt and you want to make them happy. So you say, we can do this, and you spend a week combing out hair that's just gonna fall out on the floor, and they only end up with 12 inches of hair anyway, and now their feelings are hurt and your back and fingers are hurt for no reason. So I hope to see you in the next video. Let's take our business to the next level and let us over deliver every single time.